Mr. Livingston, I presume.
Reverend Moreland, I presume.
Yes.
Sorry. It's Henry Morton Stanley at your service today. And I was privileged to meet Dr. Livingston. Now I'm privileged to introduce you to him. And I would like to speak a little bit about him. He was an interesting man. He was never really meant to be in Africa, in fact. When you go and you look and consider his childhood, a poor boy born in Scotland, in fact, to help his family, he had to begin working at the age of 10 to help support his family. The first paycheck that he received, though, what he was allowed to keep, he used it to go and purchase a Latin grammar book. He started very young pursuing the desires that God had put in his heart. When God had worked in his heart, and from the teaching and the investing and the training of his parents, he began to grow a heart for world missions. He grew a burden for China. And when he became qualified as a doctor, ordained as a minister, ready to go to China, the Opium War was raging. So he could not go. And so the London Missionary Society instead sent him to Africa. There in Africa, he met Mr. Robert Moffat and married his daughter. He explored much of the inland country, went to places many had never been, discovered rivers, lakes that no one from Europe had ever seen before. On one of his returns to Britain in 1856, he returned to a hero's welcome. He received the gold medal from the Royal Geographic Society. Many honors were bestowed upon him. But his heart would not let him stay. He continued to go back and to go back and to go back again. On one of his journeys, on the Zambezi expedition, this is after he had discovered Victoria Falls, his wife joined him there. Because of pressure and rumors from without, he brought her to be with him, and she died almost immediately she arrived. But he would still go. His heart burned for those who were enslaved to the wiles of the devil. His heart burned to bring an end to the cruel slave trade still being practiced. He wrote many articles, and he did much to champion the cause of those who needed liberation. In fact, I could take you today to a statue, larger-than-life statue there in Victoria Falls, Zimbabwe. And around the base of the statue, just underneath of his feet, there are 3 words around the statue, and they read this: explorer, missionary, and liberator. These were his watchwords. His watchwords were this: number 1, to evangelize the native races. Number 2, to explore the undiscovered secrets. Number 3, to abolish the desolating slave trade. These were his watchwords. He was to be a missionary, an explorer, and a liberator. And his reputation and the love for him continues even today. In fact, 2 presidents ago, they got the idea that they would tear down this statue. They came to Victoria Falls, the government came to Victoria Falls to tear down the statue of David Livingston. And when they arrived, they discovered that so many local people had jumped over the fence, surrounded the statue, and brought to a halt this desire to destroy the memory there of David Livingston. And so instead of the government's army, soldiers, taking aim and shooting a gun at those who were in the way of the statue, they began to shoot pictures of themselves with the statue. And he's loved, even still today. Just over the border from Victoria Falls, Zimbabwe, the town bears his name, Livingston, Zambia. You think, what an amazing man, what a great man. And he was such a great man that on his last expedition, he went to Africa to try to find the source of the Nile River. And on that expedition, he went missing. Went missing for 2 years. You think, just one man gone missing, what's the big deal? It was a big deal. It was all the talk of England and America. And in fact, that's how I got involved. There was a newspaper company decided what a story it would be if we sent a man to find Dr. David Livingston. And so I went and I searched and I explored, and eventually we came upon Mr. David Livingston. And I would like to tell you what I found. In fact, I didn't find a man that was lost at all. We had lost him, but he was not lost. He was quite at home. Not another man in sight that spoke English, but he was right at home, in the place he loved, with the people he loved, serving the God that he loved. He never felt alone, in fact. And I got to spend just a few months with him in the last couple years of his life. The world thought that David Livingston was a great man. But there was one person that did not, and that was Dr. Livingston himself. Really, he was like a silly child, silly enough to believe that God would never leave him nor forsake him. Silly enough to believe many things that we've heard already, what God could do with one man that has faith in him, with God with us. His verse that kept him through many difficult trials, losing his wife, being surrounded by hostile natives. He wrote in his journal this, January 14th, 1856, in the evening. Felt much turmoil of spirit and prospect of having all my plans for the welfare of this great region and this teeming population knocked on the head by savages tomorrow. But I read that Jesus said, all power is given unto me in heaven and in earth. Go ye therefore and teach all nations. And lo, I am with you always, even unto the end of the world. It is the word of a gentleman of the most strict and sacred honor. So there's an end of it. I will not cross furtively tonight as I intended. Should such a man as I flee, nay, verily, I shall take observations for latitude and longitude tonight, though they may be my last. I feel quite calm now. Thank God. He did not think himself to be a great man. He understood this, that a child of God never grows to be an adult of God. Sometimes we think we do. But David Livingston understood, once a child of God, always a child. The best place, the best thing to be is a child, a silly child, silly enough to take God at his word. And that's what David Livingston did all through his life. And God kept his word until his dying day, when he could hardly move. He could not explore anymore. And when they found him cold and dead, you might think alone, but he was not. They found him on his knees next to his bed. He had been talking with someone. It was his friend that stuck to him closer than a brother. It was his father that always led him by the hand. Lo, I am with you always, even unto the end of the world. Amen.